Conservatives' austerity policy has brought accusations of economic murder. A study has linked the Tories' cuts to health and social care spending to the deaths of 120,000 people. Published in BMJ Open, it's a medical journal, it says that there were over 45,000 more deaths in the first 4 years of austerity than was expected. If the trend continues between 2015 and 2020, austerity would be responsible for more than 150,000 deaths. That's 100 a day. Public spending would need to increase by $25.3 billion to return death rates to the level they were before the Tory government. Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by the National Secretary for the People's Assembly Against Austerity, Sam Fairbairn. Sam, evening to you. Astonishing figures here. I mean, really, could this be the case that over 100,000 people have died because of austerity?
Well, it seems that way, looking at the report that's come out today. I mean, we've always said that the result of cutting people's living standards, the result of austerity, the result of what the Tories are doing, cutting the health service, all of these kind of things, is going to lead to deaths. It's going to lead to one of the worst situations for people. Now, this report has come out, and it's one of the most damning reports, I think, that the government could be expected. Is much higher than I think even we knew initially, than we were even thinking. I mean, the government needs to be held responsible.
Why would people be dying as a result of austerity?
Well, I think you need to look at how the government has cut health and social care. You look at people were dying on hospital corridors just last winter, but it's actually a lot deeper than that. I think if people can't afford to feed their families, they can't afford to live their life as they do, that does have a big impact on people's health. We've already also seen that disabled people have been dying for a long time now, actually, which isn't reported enough because of the changes, the cuts to benefits and these kind of things. Now, this is just an absolutely damning report. I mean, it's shocking, and I don't understand why it's not headline news all across Britain right now, but it's just not. I think the government needs to be held responsible. They need to resign.
What do you make of John McDonnell then saying he wants an emergency budget? We heard all this fiscal policy from McDonnell, didn't we, in the lead up to the general election? And many experts said his fantasy economics simply didn't add up. All very well, of course, we've got to stop deaths, but actually the economics that the Labour Party are proposing are simply unrealistic.
Well, that's not true. I mean, actually, if you look at the run-up to the election, the Labour Party's manifesto was the only manifesto that was costed. The Tories' manifesto wasn't costed at all. Now, actually, what John McDonnell is saying, I support everything that he's saying in the thing. He's saying that actually what we need to do is invest to improve people's lives, which actually then has a better effect on the economy than when you cut people's living standards, because that means that people aren't spending then in the economy. Actually, what cutting people's living standards, cutting people's money does is actually stagnate the economy more than actually if you borrow to invest. And I would much rather say that our government is investing in what people need rather than cutting and actually and the cuts resulting in
Sam,
what
money,
we're seeing here with hundreds of thousands of deaths.
The idea that much of that money can come from taxing the super wealthy, but of course the super wealthy squirrel away their money in offshore tax funds. So that's not an answer, is it?
Well, I think the government could act to close these tax loopholes. They've said that Theresa May said she was going to do that, but she's obviously done virtually nothing about it, as the Paradise Papers have shown. But I think it's not. You know, we've got one of the lowest corporation taxes in Europe. We've got. We've got all these companies that are hiding, and including people in the Tory party, the individuals in the Tory party who are hiding and squirreling money offshore. The government could act to stop this kind of stuff, but they just aren't doing it. I mean, there's other obviously big things that you could do in terms of cutting, for example, the billions and billions that are going to be spent on Trident, replacing the nuclear weapons system. Also, actually, if you look at the rollout of universal credit, which was initially supposed to only cost, I think it was just over £2 billion, it's now at £15 billion, and it's still rising. That is an absolute shocking disgrace, and look at the misery that it's causing people. This isn't a government that actually care for people. This is a government that's doing all they can to punish people, it seems to me, and they'll even spend money to do it.
In the United States, copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material under certain limited circumstances without the prior permission from the owner. Under the law, determinations of fair use take into account the circumstances of use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the work used in relation to the work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market for the copyrighted work. Other jurisdictions may have similar copyright provisions protecting fair use or fair dealing. If you are uncertain as to whether a specific use qualifies as a fair use, you should consult a qualified copyright attorney. You have the right to take it down.